it's Chris from LaserLemming.com, and this is part 2 of my E3 impressions. First off, we're going to talk about Sony, because Sony happened most recently in regards to Microsoft, EA, Sony. Not including Ubisoft, not because I don't like Ubisoft, but simply because I really didn't get to see Ubisoft's presentation. Heard Aisha Taylor was there, heard she was good looking, heard she was funny, heard her forehead was still a little bit bigger. So, that happened. Now let's talk about Sony. Sony did their presentation, and as usual, Sony went long. Sony has a knack for making their E3 press conferences go on forever. And this year was a little bit different, because instead of going to 2.5 hours, Sony went under 2 hours. I'd say around hour and a half, hour 40, maybe a little bit less, a little bit more, give or take. So Sony was shorter than last year, but still pretty damn long. Too long. And I say this because they have a way of making these press conferences feel long. 90 minutes, when I hear 90 minutes for anything digitally related, I think Aladdin. Ever since I was a kid, I heard that Aladdin was 90 minutes long. I thought, this is as long as Aladdin if it was a 90-minute event. So if I hear that Sony's E3 press conference was 90 minutes long, I think this is the same length it was to watch Aladdin. However, if I'm watching Sony's E3 2014 press conference, it seemed a lot longer than watching Aladdin. It seemed more like watching Titanic and a half, to me. Because Sony has a real knack for showing off some great content. They show off some new shit you've never seen before. Some indie games, some AAA games. And they do it in the most boring way possible. Microsoft, yesterday, they didn't blow me away as far as presentation goes, but they had a knack for at least showing things off with a little bit of a pace to it. You know, you knew that things were going to keep moving. Sony was not able to really do that for me. They showed these full-length trailers, and then they had technical difficulties where you couldn't hear what the person was saying on stage, and it just felt really long. And they did it in a really boring way, which brings me back to my boring point. That they have a knack for presenting really cool shit in a really vanilla package. And let me give you an example of this. PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. You might remember this as the game that came out. It was a Smash Brothers clone. Fans of the game might disagree with me, but come on, you know I'm right. Anyway, if you look at the menus of that game, it's boring as shit. It's just these blue generic menus. But if you think about them, they're very similar to what the PlayStation brand is. It's these sleek, straight-lined, blue menus that serve a functional purpose, but don't really have much character to them. If you compare it to a Smash Brothers game, for example, it's just night and day. There's just no soul to it. Now, the PlayStation user interfaces as a whole, very functional, they serve their purpose, they do it well, but there's not a lot of character to it. And I think this kind of definitely represents itself with the Sony E3 2014 press conference. There's just not a lot of character there. And it's really disappointing to me, because they showed off some really cool shit. They showed off Destiny. First thing they showed off, Destiny. And they did it. It was a very good trailer. You can't knock the trailer, but the way, it was shown, it was just too long. And then you look at the audience after the trailer's done, dead silent. If you watch that trailer, you might think, well, that's kind of appropriate for the way the trailer ends. But if you look at the bigger picture about what Sony wants, they didn't want dead silence. And if you watch that E3 press conference from them, there's a lot of moments like that. It wasn't limited to the beginning. There's a lot of moments where Sony expected big applause. They didn't even have their plants in the audience doing their claps. There was nothing. Nothing. So Sony has a real knack for that. That said, I thought Sony did a decent job. They showed off some decent games. Uncharted 4, if you know the history behind that game, it's a little bit rocky because the game, when they first showed the game, it was a teaser trailer. That voice you hear was supposed to be the villain. He's not in the game anymore. He got fired. They went in a different direction. And if you know the story behind Naughty Dog this last year, lots of people quit. Nobody really knows the whole story, but it might have something to do with Uncharted going in a different direction. They put the Last of Us guys in charge of the new Uncharted. So it went in a different direction. Fired the villain, and what we got instead was another teaser for Uncharted 4. The game's supposed to be out in 2015. The end of 2015, no mistake. Better believe it's going to be the end. But another teaser? I think Sony at this point was planning to show a real full-on, probably gameplay included trailer of the game. Not another teaser. So I don't think the game is at as far of a stage as they'd like it to be at this point. That's my opinion on it. But, you know, they showed other games. They showed The Order. I'm not in love with The Order. The fact that they named it The Order 1886 or whatever year it was, I think it's 1886, but the fact that they went out of their way to put a year on it and then put all kinds of technology that didn't exist in that year, it kind of irks me. But it still looks interesting. It still looks interesting. They showed that. They showed Metal Gear Solid 5. They showed some indie games. They showed that one indie game with the whole new planets. It was a procedurally generated game, and then the developer of the game came out and cried on stage, or he almost cried. It was it was interesting, but at the same time, it was just like, why? It just felt too long to me. I don't know, am I alone here? It just felt really long to me. But that's that. I'm running out of space here, so I gotta move on. Sony did okay. Compared to Microsoft, it was at the pace wasn't as good for me. The pace wasn't as good. They didn't have anything like the Halo collection, but they still showed off some decent shit. And like indie game wise, they kicked ass. And AAA game wise, they had variety. They had Little Big Planet 3, which by the way, to me, I don't know. I felt like it's been a long time since Little Big Planet 2, and I really expected more of a graphical leap. I know there's only so much you could really do in that kind of art style and perspective, I guess you could say, but I expected more. I expected more options, and I appreciate very much the fact that they included 3 new types of characters, the big small guy, the birdie, and the dog / generic animal. I thought that was cool, but at the same time, I was really kind of surprised. I thought that there would be definitely more to a Little Big Planet game. But that was my thoughts. Sony. That's my thoughts. I'd love to know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'm going to move on to the present, Nintendo. If you watched my previous videos, you know that when I heard that Nintendo was going a second year without doing a live conference, I straight up said it was a mistake and that Nintendo is hurting themselves by not getting that live audience reaction. To a certain extent, I'm very much right, because Nintendo did show off a new Zelda, and a new Zelda would have gotten huge cheers from a live audience. However, from the very first 10 seconds of the Nintendo Digital event, if you haven't seen it, check it out. I watched it on my TV through the Wii U. Beautiful. If you watch that, you realize that even though Nintendo didn't do it through a live conference, they made great use of the fact that they were doing it pre-recorded. I'm fairly certain that they got the Robot Chicken guys to help them out here, because they had this Claymation Reggie do a presentation, made some pretty funny jokes, including some self-deprecating jokes about Nintendo as a whole, and it just kicked ass. They had this Reggie versus Iwata fight live action that you would have never seen from Sony or Microsoft execs. Never would have seen it, because they would have never been down for that sort of thing. They would have never asked for it. And that's not me dogging them, because Nintendo themselves are a pretty conservative company, but if you look at the Nintendo Directs and watch the evolution to the Nintendo digital event, it's not that surprising that you'd see Reggie battling out with Iwata in fast motion Dragon Ball Z style fights. It's not that surprising. So that happened. That happened. And I was just smiles ear to ear. And they got me early on. Now they kind of drowned that down a little bit when they went like 20 minutes with Yarn Yoshi, which is now called Yoshi's Woolly something. it's still Yarn Yoshi, you know. That's coming next year. There's a lot of 2015 games coming next year for the Wii U. So there was that. Smash Brothers still coming 2014. Smash Brothers looks interesting. They got the NFC figures that they're officially recognizing as a feature for the Wii U. It looks kind of like a bonus assist trophy kind of thing. Assist trophy, whatever you want to call it. It's a plastic character that you could stick onto the gamepad and bring into the game. It's been rumored and it's now official. I don't know how much of a huge feature it's going to be in Smash Brothers Wii U, but it's there. You can't knock the hustle. You can't knock it. So they showed off that. I was, okay. Smash Brothers Wii U, Smash Brothers 3DS, they both look really feature-packed to me. Can't complain. I'm not hearing a bunch of promises about pre-ordering for exclusive Season Pass DLC bullshit that you get with every other goddamn game these days, including first-party games from Sony and Microsoft. So I can't complain on that front. I know that when I buy a game from Sakurai, I'm getting the full goddamn package. I'm getting lots of content. If you look at Smash Brothers Brawl, for example, it's just soundtrack, art, unlockable characters, levels, whatever. I know that I'm getting a full game. So that was really good. That was really good shit for me. Now, when it comes to the rest of their presentation, what else did they show besides too much Yoshi? They showed off Bayonetta 2. A lot of it looks like footage that I've already seen of Bayonetta 2. What I didn't expect coming, because when I was watching this trailer, I was thinking, does Nintendo even give a shit that a lot of the people that own a Wii U have never played the first Bayonetta? I was seriously thinking this. And then literally like 10 seconds later from that thought, I see ching, ching, Bayonetta 1 included. HD Bayonetta 1 included. With Bayonetta 2 for the same motherfucking price. Fucking, what's his name? Mr. Platinum Games. He said last year it would be great if Bayonetta 1 came to the Wii U. Now you're getting Bayonetta 2 plus Bayonetta 1 for the same $60 price. That just blew me away. It's an instant purchase for me at that point because I myself had never played Bayonetta 1 outside of a PS3 demo. And you know, if you've followed Bayonetta at all, that a PS3 demo of the game is no way to play that game. So I'm definitely going to be getting that. There was that. What else did they show? They showed off the Mario Maker. I believe that's for the Wii U. At least graphically, it looked like it was probably for the Wii U. Didn't excite me all that much because I've really had my fill of Mario, but it kind of brought back thoughts of Mario Paint if you ever played that, or even WarioWare Do-It-Yourself. Definitely looks like it has potential. So there's that. Now, Zelda Wii U. There's no official title. Somebody bullshitted that Unbound King title in a fake Nintendo E3 doc. That was bullshit. I even made a video about it, but I didn't release it just because I felt like I was going off a little bit too much. So Nintendo showed it off. It's kind of a cel-shaded game. When you look at Link up close, he's definitely cel-shaded. It's kind of taken the Skyward Sword graphics to a new level. And animation-wise, like the fire explosions and the open world, it definitely had a little bit of a Skyrim influence because Onuma, the creative director of the Zelda games, he talked earlier about being influenced by Skyrim. And you could definitely see it when he showed that beautiful overworld. And then the fire explosions and Link in slow motion, that that bow and arrow, it looked impressive to me graphically. I really expected to see a little bit more trailer-wise, maybe even a real title, but 2015, according to Nintendo right now, that's supposed to be 2015. Now, you know it's going to be the end of 2015, but that's still pretty cool. That's still pretty cool. Right now, today, at this very moment, I've never felt more positive about the outlook of the Wii U than I do right now. I'm honestly starting to think maybe it could rival the Expo. That's just today. That's just today. There was that. There was that. And Nintendo also showed off a new game, a shooter. I thought they would show off Steam Strike Team eliminating the alien menace, but they didn't show it. They didn't show it. I don't know if that game's going to be for the 3DS. I don't know if it's going to be for the Wii U. I don't know if they're going to have shown it by the time this video is up. But they did not show that game. Instead, they showed this game called, what did they call it, Splatter or Splat. It was a game about, it was a third-person shooter. And a lot of people have made jokes about a third-person, or as a paintball shooter from Nintendo. And Nintendo actually went and did it. They made a paintball shooter for the Wii U. Also coming 2015. And you're playing as squids. It's an online shooter, 4 versus 4, but it's honestly one of the most fucking creative shooters I've ever seen. It's got all kinds of gameplay elements that just seem fun. You're shooting paint all around the level, but there's a strategy to it. Your colored paint makes you move faster. And then you can screw up other people's movement. If you're walking through their paint, it makes you move super slow. There's sniping, there's that. It's a third-person shooter, but it looks really fun. If you haven't actually watched it, I definitely recommend you go look at a gameplay trailer of it. It's very interesting. When I first saw it, I thought it was a Nickelodeon trailer, but not much third-party games coming out to the Wii U. By the way, what they didn't show was a third-party game that Nintendo is now publishing. That is Devil's Third. It was the Itagaki game. That's the guy who directed the first two Ninja Gaiden games for the first two 3D Ninja Gaiden games, I should say. He's now putting his game officially on the Wii U. That game's been like 4 years in development. Graphically, it kind of looks a little bit rough to me, especially for a game that's been in development that long, but supposedly has a lot of variety. I'm running out of time. I don't know what's wrong with my SD card right now, but I'm running out of time, so I gotta be quick. So, they showed that. Actually, they didn't show that. Another thing they didn't show, which was revealed early by TimeMagazine.com, was Star Fox. Apparently, Miyamoto is putting out or heading a new Star Fox game for the Wii U. And they're not going to be showing it until later today. By the time you see this video, it'll be up. I'm hoping it's a full-fledged Star Fox game. I know that you're going to be aiming with the gamepad, but I hope you can also aim with the thumbstacks, with the thumbsticks, and a Pro controller if you want to. I'm hoping. But hey, a new Star Fox game. And for a second, when they showed Xenoblade Chronicles X, that's the new full title for X, I really thought they were showing off a new Metroid game for a second. But there's that. And hey, they're showing off a new IP. I'm really fucking thankful for it. As a Nintendo fan, today, like I said, was very good for me. It was very good for me. It was something I really needed. And maybe I'm totally goddamn delusional and I just needed something to just trick me into thinking maybe Nintendo's turning it around. I really don't know. But what I saw I thought looked very fun. But I'd really like to know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you haven't watched all three of these conferences, the Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo conference, I really would like you to compare them, especially the presentation, the variety. I think Sony might have had the best variety, but I don't know if all those games looked the most fun. What Nintendo showed, I thought, had the most creative freedom, I thought. Like you could really do things in a less linear structure. But what the hell do I know? Let me know in the comment section below what you think. And I got some other videos. We got some other videos. Comedy and non-comedy, gaming related. And check out laserlemon.com if you haven't already. Subscribe for more. I'll see you in the next one.